Okay, I think it's time we talked about cover letters.
I want it to sound smart, but I don't know any big words or anything.
One of the first videos that I did on this channel was all about perfecting your CV, and since that video I've had a lot of messages asking, can I do the same about cover letters? I did touch upon this slightly in a recent Q&A video that I did a couple of weeks ago, which is linked down below, but I thought it would be better to do a full video dedicated on how you can improve your cover letter when applying for jobs. I've read a lot of cover letters in my time, and to be honest with you, the majority of them are not very good. I mean, thinking back to the cover letters that I used to write when I applied for jobs, I mean, they were probably really bad too. In this video, I'm going to share my opinions on what makes a good cover letter, what you should include, what you shouldn't include. So let's get straight into the video. Okay, so I'm going to start with the main two things that you need to remember. So number one is to tailor the cover letter to the job that you're applying for. And number two, don't just reword your CV onto a cover letter. That is actually what I think most people tend to do. So let's dive deeper into point number one, and that was tailoring your CV. So by this, I don't just mean writing the job title or the club or whatever it is in the first line of the cover letter. And the reason I say that is because I think that's what a lot of people actually do and think that that classes as tailoring their cover letter. If I was writing a cover letter now, the first thing I would do, I would print out or at least have a copy of the job specification at hand when I'm writing my letter. So the reason this is important is the job spec actually genuinely lists all of the skills that the club or the organisation is looking for. So can you explain how you have maybe some of them skills, but not just how you have them, how you can actually apply those skills into the job if you were successful. So maybe you can explain how you've used those skills in an actual example of how you used them before, and also how will that knowledge and how will that experience apply into this new position. That is what people are looking for. You can also do some research on the organisation. So let's say it is a football team or maybe a football academy. So that football academy might have recently run deep in the FA Youth Cup, or they might have produced a couple of good players that have gone on to something better. So, if you've got a bit of a background knowledge on who you're applying for, it shows that you've got a bit of interest. It shows that you've put some time in to actually write that cover letter rather than just the same letter for every single application that you send out. Included in the research is actually the style of play, and again I'm linking this back to a football club, but if you know a certain club's philosophy, or if you've watched them a lot and you know kind of how they play, mention that in the letter. So the more you've got in there that shows that you care about the club that you're applying for, if it is a club, the more it seems that you've put the research in, you are actually passionate about the role. Then get that in there, and make a full well-rounded letter that shows you've got the skills and you're really keen on getting the job. Just finally on this point, I will say be genuine. So you are trying to get across that you want the job, but don't just make it up and say, you want this job because it's your favourite club. If it is your favourite club, then fine, explain why and how, etc. But I have read a lot of letters, and this goes back to copy and paste jobs where I've received a letter for in-play, for example, and it says that they want the job because it's their favourite team or something, and it's obviously not true. So write the letter, be genuine, and obviously get your message across the best way you can. So with point number one in mind, it goes without saying that you should write a different or a new cover letter for every application that you send in. Yes, there may be some similarities in a comparable role, but every club is different, and also the roles and responsibilities for that particular job in that particular club might also have some slight differences as well. Don't try and save time and just go for the copy and paste job. It is easy to tell when a letter has been just sent out numerous times to the same letter out to loads of different applications. So you want to put time into this application. If you actually want the job, then is it really going to hurt to put a bit of time into the application and write a proper letter to make yourself stand out? So before we move on, I do just want to quickly ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and even like the video and also leave a comment. All of those things are free to do, and they massively help the channel to grow, and they give me more reason to make more videos just like this to help you and the rest of the analyst community. So if you've done that, let's get on to the next point. Okay, so number two was about not regurgitating your CV onto the actual cover letter, and I think this is really important. Your CV is there to show your qualifications and some recent roles and responsibilities. You don't need to have all of those things in two places. It's just a waste of time. If you do that, then not only is it boring, but you're missing an opportunity to sell yourself. So in your application, you've got your CV and let's say a one-page cover letter. That is what you've got to get your message across to the person. So why would you include the same information on both? You need to maximize the space that you've got to get across the most information as possible and the most relevant information. You need to portray why you are a great fit for that position, that you are knowledgeable, qualified, and all-around passionate for that particular job. So if you do have a skill listed on your CV that you are proud of, let's say it's a really good skill that you've spent time learning, don't just write that you've got that skill again on your cover letter, but instead you can still include it, but you can actually how could you apply that skill in the new position? So actually make it relevant to the job. So let's say you are really good at using Python, for example. Don't just say that, say you could use that in the new role, and how would that benefit the club? That is what they're actually looking for. So you can say how you've used that skill in your previous job, for example. Give an actual example. Don't just say you've done it, and don't just say the software you've used. Explain how you've done it and why, and in terms of what that achieved. So what were the results of that and why was it beneficial? And then if that was, a great thing to do at that club, maybe it's something that you can apply in the new role as well. So you can include that. For example, let's say you've watched my previous videos and you've put together yourself a portfolio of work. So this might not actually be something that you've done at a previous club, it might just be something that you've done off your own back. So let's say in that portfolio of work, you've niched down to look at the defensive stats of all the top 5 leagues in Europe, for example. So that information that you've spent time doing, and maybe you're posting out in blogs and posting it on Twitter, that is useful information. So could you relate that to this new job? Maybe it's a scouting position, maybe it's a recruitment position, and maybe you're just very, very keen and you know a lot of stats on defenders, for example, and you can benchmark academy players against these kind of things. If you can include that kind of thing in your letter and show that you are passionate, you've got these skills and this knowledge that can be applied in the new role, perfect, include it. So basically, if you can demonstrate that you have a high level skill that can be a benefit to the club, that will be brilliant. It's not unheard of that the club may just hire you for that reason alone. Okay, moving on to the next point, and I will say that the first line of your cover letter is important. So basically, it is like a dating profile. You basically want the person, whoever is reading the letter, to continue reading and not just get bored after the first line. So you need to establish quickly that you are qualified and ensure, that you are the right person for that job. So if you do want them to continue, you might pop something in there, including the years of experience you have. Maybe if you do have that one really, really good skill, you can pop that in there. And also maybe you've done something similar, a similar role at a different club that you want to apply that knowledge and you want to move into this new position. Okay, so let's move on to the length and also the format and design of the actual letter itself. So I would never, ever, ever go over 1 page unless it asks you to. And one big annoyance I have with this is some applications that we put out and we say, put in a 1-page cover letter, and someone will still send in a 2-page cover letter. It's not going to get read. If you can't even follow simple instructions to just write a 1-page cover letter, then that's not a good sign. So 1 page is more than enough anyway. So you shouldn't need to go over 1 page if you're not waffling on. So 1 page, fine. Then I would make it easy to read. So make sure it's split into nice, easy and understandable paragraphs. You can even include bullet points on there to make it look visually better. So all of those things help the reader to digest the piece of text really. So in terms of font, obviously use an easy to read font. You can also link it back to your CV. So usually they are sent together. So your CV and your cover letter can come as one. So you might want to then include the same font as both. Again, an easy to read font. You might also have a header or something on your cover letter, again with your name and your contact details, similar-ish to your CV, but again, just so if someone just picks up your cover letter, they know exactly who it is, basically, that it's come from. Okay, so the last few points is going to touch upon what you should do actually just before you send it and also when you send it in. So first things first, obviously definitely spell check you've got everything correctly spelt and the grammar is all correct. You can obviously run this through software to do this. You can ask a friend or a family member to read it. So once that's done, I would export it as a PDF, as I would do exactly the same for your CV. So you've got 2 PDF files. Then you should send it to whatever email address is listed, whatever it tells you to send it to, basically. So send it there and don't just put a blank email. Some people just literally attach 2 things and just send an email with no text, nothing at all. I would not do that. So literally just a very, very simple email. So this can literally just be, dear whoever it is that it tells you to send it to. It could be hiring manager or whatever. Please find enclosed my application for the advertised position of Academy Performance Analyst. Kind regards, Chris Gill. And then you've got your 2 attachments. So very, very simple. So don't just leave it a blank. It's a bit annoying and it's a bit weird when you do that. So make sure you do that when you send the actual applications in. So just like anything, writing a cover letter will probably be something that you can improve on over time if you are receiving feedback. So, even if you're not applying for a job, actually write a cover letter for it and just practice writing a letter. Get somebody to check it over, ask a friend, ask a family member, maybe ask a lecturer, maybe ask someone that you're working with currently just to, if they're somebody that actually looks at applications as well, that would really help because they'll have a basis to go off. So just practice writing them. You know, if you want to improve on something, you have to practice it. So I would encourage you to do that for sure. Okay, so that's it for this video. It has been a little bit shorter than my previous one, so you do have time to check out the other ones linked below in terms of improving your CV, also improving your LinkedIn profile, which is a massive one. So all of these things can come together. So your CV, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, your portfolio of work, everything comes together to make you, stand out, basically builds that profile for yourself, and that's what you can push out to clubs and organizations when you are looking for a job. So I hope this video has been of help. So I know we are obviously getting to the end of the seasons now, where more and more jobs will be starting to be advertised. So make sure you get a head start on all of your applications. Obviously use the advice in here, not just obviously my advice, there's much more advice out there as well, to write the perfect CV, write the perfect cover letter, and hopefully you will find yourself in a job come the start of next season. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.